Hello everyone, welcome back again to Which is the Moon. It's another Friday, we've survived another week, and I am so glad to see you all back here with us. This week's topic is how to discourse with Christians and other pagan, non-friendly religions and keep it civil. In other words, how to go to the family reunion without killing everybody else in your family. And this is clearly a subject that comes up quite a lot. This was actually a recommended topic from a viewer, and there's no easy answer to this. It really depends a lot on who you are talking to, because some people are going to be very open to hearing your point of view and understand that what they know about paganism or witchcraft and our beliefs is not necessarily factually based. A lot of times, especially Christians, are operating on what they have been told witchcraft is and biblical references. And they're going to throw biblical references at you day and night. My mother is one of these people. And the problem with that is, as witches, we don't accept the Bible as the definitive law of the land, the word of God. We don't accept the Quran or the Torah as the sole authority of what the gods have to say. And some of us don't even view witchcraft as a religion. It's a lifestyle, a way of life. And so it's doesn't correspond. Then you get people that are Christian witches. I'm not going to go into that topic today. But I'm certain that they face a lot of discourse, so to speak. So when you are talking with anybody about any topic and it's a debate topic, in other words, it's something that you don't agree with this person on, my rules for keeping it civil are pretty simple. I have learned to note my biological markers. And when I feel that I am getting to a point where I am losing it, so to speak, I'm becoming angry and defensive, I will step away and say, you know what? I can see that we're having some disagreement on this topic, and I'm not certain you're understanding what I'm saying. I need to take a break. I'm going to step back and I'm going to collect my thoughts, and I will come back and we'll finish this discussion. And I'll physically step away from the person. I usually will go and meditate and try to calm myself and center myself again and get my thoughts back in order. Because what happens when you become emotional is actually very physically biological, and it's detrimental to the thinking process. I'm going to explain it like this. This is the way it was explained to me. In your brainstem, you have the medulla oblongata and you have your hippocampus and all of that. Inside of that part of your brain is something called the amygdala, which is your emotional center. People with autism often have a much smaller than normal amygdala, which makes it hard for them to read people's emotions. Okay, so it's your emotional center. I like to think of it as a dragon, because it is also the part of your brain that kicks in the fight or flight response. So what happens when someone wakes up your dragon? Think of your higher brain, your cerebellum, as a village. And this is the dragon who's asleep in the cavern above the village. When somebody is chucking rocks at the dragon, which is what happens when you're in a debate with people that you are emotionally inclined to. And often religion is one of those things that people feel very emotionally bound about because it is a way of life for you. And politics, often the same. I find that a lot of times people's true religion is their political view. So they're not open to listening to other people's arguments. Their mind is made up that this is the only way, it's the right way, and if you don't see it their way, you're a moron. And they're not willing to consider other arguments or points of view. So I find that to be true with both religion and politics, which is why I tell you never discuss religion or politics with anybody. But these are topics that are pertinent to our lives every day and are important, and so they need to be discussed. You'd like to think that everybody could be an adult, but when somebody's there and they're chucking rocks at your dragon, they're saying things that you know are blatantly false, or they're purposely trying to irritate you or goad you into an emotional argument. What happens is that dragon wakes up, and think about it. When the dragon wakes up, what does he do to the village? He's flying around, blowing that ring of fire around the village, and nobody can get in or out of the village without getting burned, right? Literally, he cuts off access to the village. And that's exactly what happens to your higher level brain functions. Your logic and your reasoning and your thinking literally are cut off by the brainstem, as soon as your fight or flight response kicks in, you lose rational thought. You literally cannot think. So how do you get the dragon back to sleep? You got to sing him back to sleep, which is when I will use my words of power and say, I feel like I am losing my self-control, or I feel that I'm not getting my point across to you in a manner that is clear. Give me a few moments. I need a break. And I will step away and calm myself down. Now, this does not work with everybody. People like my husband will follow you wherever you go, even if it's the bathroom. They'll stand there with their mouth at the door and they'll argue with you and yell at you until you're stupid, or they'll pick the lock and come in. So, that doesn't always work in every situation, but in most situations it does. Then you come back and you say, okay, I think I can figure out a way to explain this in a manner that is different so that maybe you can see what I'm trying to say. You want to avoid the you statements. Anytime you're talking with anybody about any topic, but especially religion or politics, avoid accusatory sounding statements. Use I statements. And you say, I feel like I'm not explaining this in a manner. Maybe I'm not making myself, my argument clear. Let me see if I can explain it a different way. It seems to me like there's some misunderstanding about what I'm saying. Notice I never said you. I didn't say you aren't understanding what I'm saying. I didn't say you don't get me or you're just stupid. I never used any of those kinds of statements. So it disarms the person and it keeps it from becoming a personal conflict between you and the person you are arguing with. Now, there are some people who are just not going to discourse on a pleasant level, and there comes a point where you just have to say, you know what, we're going to have to agree to disagree or just not talk to one another either about this topic or at all. And sometimes that kind of cutoff is necessary in order to keep your own sanity. And now, it's a little hard if that happens to be the person that you're married to. But you do the best that you can and you keep yourself grounded. And I will always go back to my fallback, which I mentioned, and it's almost like a mantra for me: meditation, meditation, meditation. It will help you. It will help ground you. It will help you keep your strength in standing your path in the face of people who give you a lot of difficulty about it. And especially when these things are family, family are the ties that bind and gag. So when you are at a family reunion or a get-together such as the Yuletide joy that has just passed, New Year's, birthdays, anytime like that, when you guys are getting together and there's going to be some conflict, first of all, try to avoid it. Clarify any misconceptions to the best of your ability in a manner that is non-confrontational. So, for example, you hear somebody saying, oh, I hear you got into witchcraft and devil worship. You would simply look at them and go, well, I'm sorry that that's what you heard, but that's certainly not true. Yes, I practice witchcraft, but there's no devil in the craft. The devil is Judeo-Christian, figmentation of the imagination. You say it like that, they're definitely going to come back at you, but you can just say, is a Judeo-Christian device to explain the root of evil in all mankind. When you explain it like that, then they kind of look at you and their mouth falls open and they don't know how to respond to that because that's not what they were expecting. Remember that anytime you're dialoguing or discoursing with somebody and they say something to you, there is a certain response that they are expecting back. It's what we call pragmatics in the speech language pathology field. They are expecting you to follow a certain rule and they're expecting you to do a specific dance. And when they're waltzing and you're doing the foxtrot, it throws them completely off. Either they have to change their dance to match yours or they stop dancing. And that's called differentiation. So when you tell them, well, I am sorry that that's what you've heard, but let me explain to you what I actually believe. Then they're kind of like, oh, and that opens the door for you to educate this person. Now, again, some people are just going to say, well, I don't care what you say. I know you're out there worshiping the devil and dancing around naked in the woods and whatever. Honey, I wish I was dancing around naked in the woods, but if I did that, I'd probably frighten every animal in the forest and kill the trees. So the answer to that would be no. But you get the point. So when you are discoursing, again, basic rules are always remain calm. Never allow them to wake your dragon. Keep your dragon asleep. If that means you need to step away from the argument, use your words of power to explain that you feel you need to step away and take a break to recollect your thoughts. Never make confrontational or accusatory statements towards the person. Avoid using you statements as much as possible. Always deflect it back upon yourself. I'm sorry I'm not making myself clearer, that there's some misunderstanding to what I'm trying to say. Never use the word you. Avoid it if you can. And recognize when that person's just never going to see it your way or agree with it, and they're going to continue to try to provoke the dragon and wake it up and make this an argument and not a discourse. And that's the big difference. When you can have a discussion or a discourse with someone without it turning into an argument, then you know you have a true debate. And learning comes from debate on both sides. They might bring up some points you hadn't thought of as well that maybe need to be clarified in your own mind or what have you. But you always want to make sure that you remain in the debate and never fall into the argument. So those are some tips that I have for discoursing with people who don't see eye to eye with you. I certainly hope that it helps you, and I'd love to have your feedback on if any of these suggestions actually help you out. Thank you so much, and blessed be.